Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ryan here. I have a very special guest interview tonight. Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, will be doing a one-on-one interview with me in just a couple minutes. But first, like always, if you guys can do what these graphics down here say, and please like, share, follow, and subscribe to all my social media platforms, especially YouTube. That one really helps me out a lot, okay, guys? Okay, thank you very much. So, without further ado, the one, the only, Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada. Justin Trudeau, how are you doing today? Thank you for joining us.
Very well, Ahmed. Thank you for being part of this tonight.
Ahmed? My name is Ryan. Where do you get Ahmed? Good observation, Trudeau. I'll give you that one. Aha. There. That's a little better now. Okay, now I have to admit, just off the top of my head here, Justin, your picture and sound seems a little off. Did you invest in any type of good quality production for this interview?
It's not about spending that amount of money. It's about what you invested in.
Yes, that is true. You must be referring to the $600 million you gave to the media, as well as all your investments in Moderna and Pfizer, as well as all the investments you're making behind the scenes. Very true. I'm glad you pointed that out to us. Okay, now let's get on to the questions, shall we? I have some questions for you, Justin, if you don't mind me starting off with. Now, I'd like to ask you a few things. In terms of the EU meeting that happened a month or two ago in Brussels, in which the Croatian MP called your actions to the convoy a dictatorship of the worst kind, and also the German MP saying you're a disgrace to democracy, please spare us your presence. And I'd like to also ask you about the Romanian MEP refusing to attend your speech. I would also like to ask you how you feel about the horse trampling incident in Ottawa. I'd like to ask you about you invoking the Emergencies Act on peaceful protesters, the freezing of bank accounts, your partnership with the WEF as well as Klaus Schwab, as well as what you know about digital ID coming up. Do you have a part in the no-fly list that I am on from November 2020, as well as all the F Trudeau flags that have been waving around for the last couple years? What are your thoughts on all that?
Great question. You've obviously thought about it quite a bit, and there's a lot of things in what you said.
Yeah, I don't think we really care about your response too much. I just wanted to ask you all that stuff, really, is what I wanted to do. Okay, another question. These last couple years have been really hard on businesses and small businesses, lots of closures. It's been hard on the middle class. Money's hard to come by. What are your plans to fix the economy going forward, Justin?
We can't really recover the economy.
Wow, thank you for an honest answer, Justin. That's a first for you. Okay, now what's one thing that you can promise Canadians that you will never protect?
Protection for your rights.
Interesting. Okay, let's talk about COVID now because it's been an issue for the last 2 years. What is the most important thing that will get us through COVID as quickly as possible?
The most important thing is to finish with COVID as quickly as possible.
Well, that just seems like you reiterated my question verbatim there. Not much of an answer there. Let me try another one. What is the first thing you will do to end this COVID situation?
First thing is getting done with COVID. We have to get through that.
Okay, enough with COVID. Enough about that. Let's talk about restrictions, mandates, and lockdowns for a second. Now, will these mandates and restrictions and lockdowns ever end going into the near future as most people have been vaccinated? What are your thoughts?
We're still facing the threats of more lockdowns.
Interesting, so they won't end. Okay, well, given all this lockdown talk and how much we've been locked down in Canada for the last 2 years and all these mandates, a lot of people are saying that Canada's become a very communist country and that you are an authoritarian dictator. What are your thoughts on that exactly?
Canada's not like that. Canada's not that country. But we have to accept that it is in some cases.
It's interesting that we brought up communism. A lot of people actually bring up another communistic dictator that you have some potential relation to, Castro. What are your thoughts on everybody calling you Castro's son?
Well, first of all, that's the question I've been asking myself through this campaign.
Yeah, I understand. It's a hard question to answer. I understand. But I do want to thank you for your time so far as we continue.
First of all, Ty, thank you.
Ty, you were just calling me Ahmed before. It's written right here. Ah. Good catch, Justin. You're good with the name tag thing. Okay. Let's go back to my name here, just in case. Okay, we'll get this going right in a second here. Alrighty. Okay, that's a little better. I hope there's no more confusion going forward. Okay, let's change the topic to the movement now. Now, we just had a convoy going to Ottawa across Canada 3 months ago. What are your thoughts on getting another convoy together from the West Coast to the East Coast? What do you think?
But we need to bring people along with us right across the country.
Interesting. So there will be children involved. How do you plan to keep children and grandchildren safe during this?
But we need to accompany your kids and your grandkids as we're doing this.
Very interesting. Okay, let's switch topics now, because over the last couple years, 2 years ago, as you can see, I co-founded a group called Celebration of Freedoms and Rights, which was meant to protest against people like you, our government. So what I would like to honestly know is, what do you think of my involvement these last 2 years? I've put out human rights pamphlets, I've helped organize rallies, I've helped put on protests, I've helped do walkthrough videos with mask mandates in stores. What do you think of my involvement in this movement, Justin? Tell us.
Thank you for continuing to do the things that society needed, that we all needed to stay safe and get through it.
Interesting. I'd like to hear your thoughts on how Celebration of Freedoms and Rights started, how it helped bring people together, the impact that it's had with rallies and protests. What do you think?
And Canadians through this pandemic were there for each other in amazing ways. That's been the story of this difficult 18 months. People came together, were there for each other, were generous with each other and generous of spirit to each other. And it's not a small, angry minority that is very loud and quite scary to a lot of people that is going to start to define the country we are. And we all need to stand up. And quite frankly, that's part of the choice we have to make about what kind of country we want to be.
Okay. So what do you think about the state of the movement now? What do you feel about all these different organizations? How can we boost attendance? How can we stop preventing discrimination against people? And what can people do to keep protesting you?
But there's so much more to do. A lot of it is partnership with grassroots community organizations in various communities to be able to actually keep themselves safe, but also reach out to their neighbors so everyone feels part of the solution. And people don't simply stand back like in your experience and say, oh, that's someone else's problem. No, it's all of our problem to stand up, because anyone gets discriminated against, that affects the society that we all live in.
Very interesting insight. Okay, so one of the events that Celebration of Freedoms and Rights put on back in July of 2020 was the March to Unmask movement. That was to protest against up-and-coming mask mandates on everybody. We had a rally in July of 2020 in Vancouver, as well as 17 cities across Canada, and then we were ready for our second event, August 2nd, but unfortunately that rally was cancelled. What did you do in the coming days after that rally?
A couple of days after that canceled rally, I walked my youngest son to school, 7 years old, so excited about going into grade 2 with no mask.
No mask? Is this COVID theater? We know you go around maskless all the time. Care to cover your tracks a little bit on this one before it hits the mainstream news?
Well, with masks on.
Well, this concludes our interview, Justin. First of all, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for the interview. And thank you for doing this once again, Justin.
Very well, Ahmed. Thank you for being part of this tonight.
Ahmed, again, I have the name tag. Good eye, Justin. If there's one thing I'll give you, you have a good eye. Okay, guys, that's it for our interview today. This is Ryan Ty Ahmed saying good night and have a good evening, everybody.